Welcome to the Provisionist Perspective. And today, this is the Provisionist Perspective. For those of us that are new here, we want you to be firmly persuaded of God's love and provision for everyone. And that includes men, all men, every man, every last one of them, from boyhood to the elderly. God loves each and every one of them. And to that end, we've got a topic today. For those of you that are tuning in live, the thumbnail is a little bit weird and the title is a little bit weird, but Eric and I messaged. And so our topic is going to be, why do men hate the church? Okay, we're going to try to tackle this question as men today ourselves. It's a question that I'm curious about. I don't really feel like I have a lot of answers. I mean, I think I have some thoughts. But tune in today for this. We've got a couple things we're going to look at together, and hopefully it'll be a good one. We'll take your questions and stuff and then hop into it. So yeah, while you're here, if you're new here, hopefully this is interesting to you. Hit that like button if you really want to see content like this. That helps with the algorithm. If you want to join our Patreon team, patreon.com/provisionist perspective, I think it is, without the. You can join our team, buy us a couple coffees, support the channel and stuff. That helps out. And I've got some merch here too. I'm wearing some of the merch today. If you want to jump on the website. Nice. Actually, the website's down right now. So maybe wait 2 or 3 days for those of you that are watching on YouTube to I got to get that back in running order. But anyways, there was a tweet today that I messaged to Eric. And I on one hand, it was kind of like one of those tweets or one of those things that you read and you're like, yep. I feel like you kind of lost me at the end there, brother. So it's I want to put it up here. I feel like Brother Derek, I'm afraid we're going to have to throw him under the bus a little bit because that's
we are going to throw him. Oh well, it's Foster, right? Wasn't it Michael Foster?
Oh, I don't know. Who posted it.
It's him. It's Michael Foster. It's he has this organization. Yeah, so he's this pastor out of somewhere. I'm not sure. I think he's the one with the platform. I believe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here. I believe he's the one with the pastor. It's the platform. It's good to be a man. I don't know how active he is in creating content for just that. He seems like he's a pretty busy guy. But it's he's it's good to be a man guy. He's gotten a little bit in some internet trouble before. This is not his first rodeo on the Twitter troubles. And he says kind of controversial things that I mostly agree with. I mean, here this is just going to be another microcosm of how it usually goes with Michael Foster and how it oftentimes goes with the ex-manosphere, if that's still a term people use, where there's this
not that you're like an ex-man, but it's like the manosphere that you were once part of.
Manosphere on X. The manosphere on X.
X-manosphere.
Twitter,
okay, got you.
Manosphere. Check. This reaction to all of the toxic masculinity, men are terrible, men are the problem. There's this reaction to this online because of course there are. And it's taking a lot of different forms. You've got your old red pillars, you've got your neo red pillars, you've got, and we could talk about this, man, like where it's kind of gone. And then with a lot of it, it's sort of like, man, I agree with a lot of this. And then is that really Christ-like though? How do we do?
It's kind of like this whole red pill movement. I mean, that's like really what this ex-manosphere is, with people like Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson and stuff that are really resonating with young men and speaking apparently to felt needs. That's the word that triggers you, isn't it, Eric? The felt needs that young men have.
I don't like that. That feels dirty.
What we're going to see.
We're going to see here. Let's jump into it. What we're going to see here is kind of like, it's good stuff. Oh wait, let's talk about it.
Here we go. So hopefully I'm not. Hold on. I'm spilling some beans here. I've got like my chat up here and stuff.
Clipped, screenshotted, posted on the internet.
Let me just pause for a second and make sure everything's in order. Okay, I'll have to make this bigger so that you guys can actually read this. Okay, hopefully that's better, everyone. So this is from a congregant, I guess, of this pastor. So it says, Pastor, it says you have read my message but ignored it. I also looked heavily into apologetics, as you mentioned, and it actually had quite an opposite impact on me, as many of these arguments don't make any sense. So I guess the inference there is that this brother is struggling with some doubts or something, and so he's expressing these doubts to the pastor, and he's reading it and not responding, is what it seems like. I feel very hurt. A man of faith like you would ignore someone in my position. That in itself is very telling. I gotta say, the cojones on this guy, on this brother,
yeah,
that's doing this, that in itself is very telling.
I think that you are giving him too much credit. I don't know if this guy's a Christian. I'm not too sure he's a congregant or a Christian. It sounds like they've had conversations, I'm assuming in person, actually. But this might be a skeptic. And then it's like a man of faith like yourself. Like, you're supposed to be better than me. You're supposed to be better than normal people.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is, a man of faith like yourself, not, I feel like a Christian would say like a fellow brother in Christ or something, not a man of faith like you. So I'm leaning that this dude is a skeptic.
Okay, cool. Let's put him back. So this is the pastor's response. So he says, I have 7 kids, an 8th baby due in 6 weeks. Holy moly. We had 2 kids and we were like, this is enough. This is enough.
3 is good. 3 is good. Yep.
This brother, we wanted 3, but I think we got started too late. So, and the nature of our role and job involves a little bit of travel, a lot of travel. And so that makes it difficult the more kids you have. But anyways, so 2 jobs, 400 plus people at my church, 30 plus reports at my job. So this brother, this pastor is bivocational, I suppose.
Bivocational.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's 200, 400 people for people at his church. I mean, I guess he's still choosing to be bivocational because 400.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Could probably sustain the pastoral role.
I would expect so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he says 2 weddings to do in the next 2 weeks. Easter Sunday prep, our annual congregational meeting, hundreds of unanswered emails from people just like yourself, et cetera, et cetera. I have my own life and priorities, young man. Get over yourself. Your problem is thinking that the world revolves around you, I guess he meant to say there. Right. Stop talking to strangers about your hurt feelings and grow up. This implies to me that this is a random pastor he found on the internet or something. I don't know. Strangers about your hurt feelings. I don't know what that is.
Maybe. Yeah.
Now, I'll get to this when I can, the pastor says. Until then, go to church, read your Bible, work out, stay away from porn, and pray. Doubt yourself instead of doubting God. It's interesting, Eric, how the Lord's providence works, because I actually almost sent you another post, like, how they share like those quote images or whatever, and it has like a quote with something in the background or whatever. I got sent something today and I thought about it, and it's right along these lines. So I can't show it to you, but I can probably pull up here. Do you want to give any initial thoughts on that while I'm pulling this up?
My initial thoughts are there's nothing wrong. Okay. It's so hard to evaluate things like this because the general consensus is that Christians are supposed to be nice men. That being a Christian man is being a nice man. And I reject that wholeheartedly. I have a visceral reaction to that idea now. Be nice men. where was Jesus a nice man? You have to read the Bible a certain way and ignore lots of stuff in the Gospels to get to the point where you think Jesus was a nice man. I don't see that at all. The dude was intimidating. He was able to silence people who should have been above him. He stood up to them both verbally and physically. The famous story, of course, that all of us now talk to, that is, what do you do with this story of Jesus when he sees the temple has become a shopping mall, basically this place is supposed to be set apart wholly for God's purposes. He sees it's now a place where people are making money off the poor. It's a shopping mall. He gets angry. He leaves, apparently thinks about it for some time, goes, yep, I choose violence, and fashions a whip and goes back and drives everyone out, turning over their tables with their money, just whatever's on their table just goes everywhere. And he uses the whip on people. And I see pushback against this. Well, it doesn't say he whipped anybody. Okay, he didn't actually hit anybody with the whip. Okay, he was swinging it at people. He drove them out at the point of the whip, and maybe the whip didn't make contact. Good for if you need that in your life, that Jesus didn't make contact with the whip. Okay, fine. But he drove them out with the whip while angrily overchanging their tables, overturning their tables. And so I reject this. Well, he's not being nice. I don't care that Michael Foster isn't being nice here. That's kind of my first. Let's just get that out of the way, that I'm not evaluating his words for niceness because I think he needs to be nice. That's not what I think is going on here. Now, past that, there's some more.
Jesus was whipping with love.
Whipped with love, yeah. I mean, whipped with love, I guess.
You get the laugh track back here. Did that come through?
Yeah, laugh track. I like that. He was whipped with love. I mean, does that describe your Saturday nights, Drew? With you and your wife, whipped with love? Okay, that's all right. That's enough. But there's more I can say there. But what was the quote that you were looking for?
Oh yeah. We've got let me see here. So I'll just read the translation of the quote. I'm translating from another language because it was sent to me by someone else, and it's so interesting. I wonder, like, was this quote circulating on the internet or something, and somebody decided to translate it? But it says, I don't know. When I read the quote, I just felt like a chick in my spirit. I was like, oh, this just doesn't. I don't know about this. And so you guys, men, especially out there, you let me know what we think, because this kind of is very, very similar words to what this pastor just used. So it says, at the light of the cross, the biggest insult that you can give to God is to doubt his love. And so I just thought, like, I don't know, like, I guess I just think that God's gracious and compassionate. And I think that there's a certain amount of wrestle and stuff in this life where even in knowing what he did on the cross, there is a sense in which you can struggle and wrestle with that. And so I guess I just thought, like, and so this pastor here, he says similarly, where's it at? Doubt yourself instead of doubting God, which is, I don't know, it's all well and good to say that, but and who is this guy? Do they have a relationship? There are other things to be considered. And then that quote that I just gave you, I don't know. I just think of somebody who's struggling with doubt, and they're like, man, this is like an insult to God. I need to stop doubting. And you can't just turn it off. Right. I mean, that's what apologetics and study and all these different things are for. What do you guys make of that?
I like the doubt yourself too thing that, Jordan Peterson has that too, where he's like, his point is there are these people who the people who are trying to build utopia on earth, right? They're out there marching and They think they can solve the world's problems. And if you think of the left as trying to build utopia on Earth, you get really close to understanding how they think and why they act the way they do, and you get closer to understanding them. So it's like, you think you can change the world, but have you cleaned your room? You know, your room is a mess, your life is a mess, your emotions are a mess. You know, clean your room first, manage your own affairs first, and then try to change the world. And of course, if they did that, if they became responsible people, responsible for their own lives, they would stop trying to change the world. That would be enough, right? This search for utopia is a way to have an excuse for why your life is terrible, or at least the problems in your life. That problems in my life are due to the fact that I don't live in utopia. Like, right, and maybe this skeptic is what Michael Foster's trying to point out to him is like, the problems in your life are due to your own choices to watch porn, to do these other things,
right?
To have this pride, to have this expectation that strangers should bend to your time frame. That's the source of your problems, not that the arguments for God are unbelievable, or that God is unbelievable, that the evidence he's already given you isn't sustainable. Like, that's not the problem. The problem is the choices you've made.
Yeah, because and this is one thing that I think that we underestimate the synergy of is, sin and that intellectual doubt. Like, if you're consistently watching naked women on your computer and different stuff like that, or fornicating with your girlfriend or whatever else, you're probably not going to feel very good in yourself spiritually, because there's a law of cause and effect here. And so I can see where that's good advice, in terms of like, hey, you got all these doubts, but like, work on the stuff that's in your control. Maybe stop doing the stuff that harms you. And increasingly, I'm seeing a movement among even unbelievers. And I hope that the algorithm brings this episode to a number of unbelievers that might be tuning in to, why, I didn't particularly like church. Maybe this will help me understand kind of what I didn't like about it. But I just went off on that little rabbit trail there, and I lost my thought. Go ahead. No, go ahead. It'll come back.
Well, just to the skeptic's point, or what you just said about, if there is a man out there who, and especially if you're kind of a blue collar man and you work with your hands for a living, you're up in a tower for a living, you're digging holes for a living, running pipe, running wire, whatever you're doing. And I know a lot more of these men now that I live where I live. If you were tell me that church had nothing for you, I went there, tried it. It wasn't, I didn't really get it. I'd be like, I understand completely. There really is nothing for you there. Think of your average blue collar guy, and he's going to go into church, and what is he going to do? He is going to be greeted by, it's weird. He's going to be greeted by smiley people. It feels kind of fake and weird, smiley people. And then you're supposed to talk. Okay. Supposed to talk a little bit. And then I'm going to go
and you sing.
And you sit and you sing. It's emotional songs.
And you listen to a guy talk or a gal talk.
And which the talking part is okay. Right. But then all the people around me are sort of like this, while they're singing, and I do that. I'm an offender. I'm offending people because I do that kind of thing while I'm worshiping, and so then the talk. Okay, like, depending on how intellectual it is or challenging it is, like, we like problem solving. We like, you tell us something wrong about us, we're like, really? Okay, that's okay. But then I'm supposed to get up and then go talk some more, and then leave, and then while I was there, the one thing they said that I could do, hey, if you want some more, here's what you can do, is to get in a group where I get to sit in a circle and talk about my feelings. Nope. What is this doing for me here?
Right.
And I think that, so that's fair if people have that criticism.
Yeah. We got a few questions here in the chat that I want to highlight. So Peter says, do we distinguish between Christian men and unbelieving men who don't care for the church? I think that From my point of view, I'm kind of trying to address both, because I suspect that some of my challenges and maybe some of Eric's and just us men in general, I mean, 99% of our viewers are men. So I think I'm talking to most of you here. Sorry, ladies, hopefully you can just absorb some of this and pass it on if it's useful. If it's not, just let it go in one ear and out the other. But yeah, I'm coming at this from the point of view that hopefully we can kind of solve this together. And I think that the solutions are going to be similar for both Christians and non-Christians. And do you have any add on to that, Eric?
Well, for Christian men, unbelieving men who don't care for the church, if churches are supposed to be a place of outreach for the unchurched and the unchristians, why then are churches almost exclusively geared towards feminine sensibilities?
Right.
And then as for the women who are listening to this, if you want to understand the heart of your man and understand what makes his soul sing and right. why it is that he doesn't like church as much as you, this could be valuable for you to start thinking about these things.
I mean, I think that's hard. I think that's a common experience. We've all seen that. We've experienced that. I mean, my dad, granted, my parents have been separated since I was very small, but my dad was never, up until recently, much of a churchgoer. And I think there's a reason for that, and so we've experienced this where like mom is bringing the kids along, but dad's nowhere to be found. He's golfing or watching the game or whatever else. And I'm not saying that that's like an excuse or whatever, but if we're wanting to welcome men and say you're welcome here and you don't have to leave your masculinity and your manhood at the door, then I think that's something that we need to work on. So JT here asks a great question. This is for Eric. I'm gonna let Eric answer this one. What, with kindness being a fruit of the Spirit, thank you for the super chat, by the way, JT, we appreciate it. With kindness being a fruit of the Spirit, wouldn't being nice be part of what it means to be kind?
No. These terms have been so hijacked to mean nice means never make anyone upset with you, never let anybody have a negative emotion from what you say. And it's not kindness to allow to lie to people. It's not kindness to tell them, yes, everything you're doing is fine and your life is just fine the way that it is. It's not kindness to tell young people that that mutilating their bodies will make them happy. It's not kindness. It's not nice to, or kind at all, to tell men and suggest that men are the problem for everything, which is what even pastors and men who claim to care about the plight of men also do, like Mark Driscoll. Mark Driscoll exclusively blames men for every problem. Like, go look at his Twitter feed,
and it's so funny.
Yeah,
because you and I have talked about this, Eric, and I think this is part of the problem that I see is that people like Mark Driscoll and people in the manosphere circles on X and social media and stuff, they project this image of masculinity, of strength and stuff, because they call out men, they get in their face and stuff like that. But guess what would happen to your predominantly woman church if you started calling out the particular sins of women and getting on their case about gossip and immodesty and whatever else you want to chuck in the bucket as far as sins that women struggle with more than men do? You're gonna empty out your church, but that's necessary and it's needed. And I think that this segues me nicely into this quote from John Eldredge. Many of you, if you're our age, will know John Eldredge very well. He wrote a very popular book back in the day called Wild at Heart that was geared towards men. His wife and him did a Captivating, that was geared towards women. And it really resonates. I think as a man, you read it and it just really resonates. Eric, I think you were talking about reading that book even just recently. And I've been reading.
I just finished it 2 weeks ago.
Nice. I've been reading a book by his called Resilient, which I highly recommend. I've been listening to it on audiobook, and he actually reads it, and it's phenomenal. Like, he's very engaging and stuff. I highly recommend his audiobooks based on that. But he has this to say in his I'm sorry. Just forget everything that I said about John Eldredge. Eric can talk about that later. This has nothing to do with John Eldredge. I've been listening to John Eldredge, but this is a brother named Dutch Sheets, and he's writing in a book called Intercessory Prayer. just put that in your pocket and just forget about it. So that's good. That's just like a little nugget for Eric to talk about later. He can talk about John Eldredge. Some book recommendations for you. Dutch Sheets, he talks about prayer. And then he talks about this passage in 2 Corinthians 10, 4 and 5, where it talks about demolishing strongholds, high places, and I can't remember what the other one is. I was taking notes the other day. And the one that he talks about with strongholds is pride. And so this is what he has to say about that. And he kind of takes a little bit of a dig at men here. And I didn't share this with you, Eric, but
you're springing this on me?
Eric's first time.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys can see this. Can I make this bigger? Let's see what I can do.
Yeah, that's bigger.
Okay, let's see. Okay, this section is called The Male Pride Factor. Okay. So this is a book that I would describe, by the way, as like a chew up the meat, spit out the bones. I think it's very inspirational. It's very challenging for me. He comes from more of the charismatic Pentecostal tradition. And so I'm not really from that vein, but I appreciate the challenges and stuff. And so this is what he has to say. God, the light of the world, is forever trying to get fallen humanity to alter their course. Arrogant humans who have chosen to captain their own lives usually charge on to their own destruction. The pride factor also answered my question of why, regardless of where I went in the world, I found more women saved than men. I knew it couldn't be because they were smarter. The reason is that this root of pride is stronger in men than in women. Most men, at least. Some of us in the ultra humble class no longer have a problem with that. And then he says, the reason pride is stronger in men is that which is strongest in us in a pure form before the fall became strongest in a perverted form after the fall. The motivation in men that found its greatest fulfillment in covering, nurturing, protecting, and caring for, leading from a servant motivation, turned inward at the time of the fall. The desire to lead became a desire to dominate or lord over a given nature. A giving nature turned into a getting nature, and a secure humility was transformed into an insecure pride. To see how we men were supposed to cover and lead, we need only to look at Jesus, who led and walked in amazing authority and power, yet from a pure serving motivation. I thought that was a great quote. You can see I highlighted it there if you're watching on YouTube. And also, we would add here, we just talked about like he led and walked in amazing authority and power, which includes using whips from time to time. So put that in your theological pipe and smoke it.
Right. But, this Jesus led with pure, what was it? What's the pure
serving motivation?
We say these things about Jesus's ministry. And what do you do about the times when he went in public and said really controversial things he knew would make the ruling powers murderously rageful at him? He could have not said those things and lived a lot longer. He could have not said the things that he said in the way that he said them. Like, he chose incredibly offensive ways to say things. Like, the big one in John 8 is, before Abraham was, I am. And he could have softened it a little bit and would just said, before Abraham was, I was. But instead, he claims Yahweh's name, I am that I am, and just makes them murderously rageful at him. He did that with a servant's motivation. Okay, let's try to fit in purposely pissing people off that can kill you into the pure serving motivation. Let's fit that in somewhere, because he did that too.
Right.
Right.
And here, I'll leave this last paragraph, and maybe you'll have something to say to this, Eric, because you're kind of in this counseling world a little bit. But he says, counselors will counsel many more women than men because it is so difficult for a man to say, I need help. Women are usually the first to say, I'm sorry, or I was wrong. Men are usually more competitive. Women are usually more giving and selfless. Why are these things true? The pride factor in men. And
Those
so,
things are true because of the way that God designed men. And because is this culture has made it so that men feel that they need to be fiercely independent or they're not men. This is something that Western
right.
culture has. Eastern men don't feel this way. Eastern men walk around holding hands. Eastern men greet each other with kisses on the cheek. This is not something that Eastern men have an issue with at all. It's not men, it's Western men because of Western society. You know, I don't think that I don't find women any less prideful. They're just prideful in a quieter, subtler way. Men are
Well, and I
definitely
think
more aggressive, definitely more boastful for sure. But I don't think the
when you're
sin
not majoring on the particular sins of women in the church, then I think it can be a temptation because the women are sitting there and they're remaining unscathed by the word of God because nobody's choosing to
That's
take these
right.
particular things and
That's
put
right.
it in. Then they feel like, oh, I must be good and I must be in a pretty good spiritual place. You know, I'm not looking at pornography and I'm not like angry, you know, with the people around me, and I'm slow to speak, and you know, this kind of stuff. And
That's
so
right.
I'm not. Yeah, so I think you know, there's maybe our pride is just more obvious or noticeable because we're more physical, so that kind of aggression or that pride is a little bit
Sure.
scarier, and so you just notice it more. But then when you start looking at some of the ways in which women can be harmful. I mean, we've talked about that a little bit, and this
But is it
particular
is it
element of go ahead.
okay? Well, just is it prideful to say I'm going to start a church and hundreds, if not thousands, of people are going to come and hear the word of God from me? I'm going to teach hundreds, thousands of people the word of God, and then I'm going to like take their money and employ other people. That's something I'm going to do. Is that prideful? I guess so. You could probably say so. So I bet
Right.
skeptics and atheists would be like, "That's the height of arrogance." Maybe, but that's what men all over the country are doing. Is that a bad thing or is that a good thing? I hope this author would say that's a good thing. So
Yeah.
it takes a little bit of, I don't want to say pride because pride is a sin, but it takes a bit of competence. It takes a bit of
Competence
aggressiveness
and confidence. I mean,
yeah,
I think
aggressiveness
confidence
to
can often
say,
be confused for pride. You know, I mean,
yes, that's right. That's right.
I feel like I often have the issue, and I don't, Eric. I think we've talked about this a little bit, but where I feel like I'm a pretty approachable person in terms of bringing correction or whatever else like that, but I know that other people don't get that sense. And people that know me well know that I am approachable and they can, you know, talk to me about whatever. And I don't like I think that and some of it I'm sure is confidence that I don't actually have, that I'm just projecting or whatever. But I
Sure,
think there's a
sure.
sense in which confidence can be mistaken for like this person's prideful, he's not going to listen to me or whatever else kind of thing. So and thank you, JT, again for the super chat. He says, I see what you're saying about the nice, kind stuff. I'm glad Eric could help you with that. I think that it's something that I've been wrestling with a little bit within recent years, just in terms of what does this look like? Because I've always been kind of like the turn the other cheek type of guy, you know, be nice, that type of stuff. And maybe the
And I
podcast,
see,
the Provisionist
and
Perspective,
I've
and the
seen
internet has
that.
brought out a little bit of the like this, but
Sure. And there is an overcorrection, and we see that on the Twitter X manosphere a lot too. We see that in politics, you know, exemplified by Trump. We see that where there is this reaction that is too far, where it's like own the libs and you know, be a jerk for Jesus. And I don't. The jerks for Jesus thing is used also too much to get men to shut up about things they believe are true, get them to stop saying true things. But there is an overreaction there, right? It is a tendency of men to be too aggressive. It is a tendency of men to push and go too far. I think Andrew Tate is an example of that, right? And I think Pearl, if you know Pearl from its Pearly Things, has gone too far with that too. Now she's a woman, but she's gone too far in terms of what Red Pill has become, where it's become an overreaction now, I think, where, Andrew Tate has looked at the state of the situation, and this isn't the church, but it's a microcosm of society, which he takes a look at how disadvantaged men are in the family and in the workplace. And he goes, cool, then I'm going to abuse, victimize, and pimp women out, because I'm going to own women then. I'm going to quite literally create a system where I can own them and teach other men how to own them, so that women can't hurt us now. We win. Nope. That's not Christ-like. That's not Christian. I have a little bit of that with what we're talking about with Michael Foster. Get over yourself. I guess you don't want that guy to ever talk to you again, and maybe that's okay with you. If you say get over yourself to somebody, that person's just never talking to you again. And that's okay. There's a time for that. There's a time when you need to move on and not waste your breath on somebody, not waste your time. But that guy's probably not talking to you. So you can definitely go too far. And men can definitely go too far. There is an overreaction to all of this. Where is that happening in the church, though? I think there's a little bit of a boogeyman there. Where are there these super hyper masculine churches? I don't know about any. If you know about some, please show them to me.
Yeah, no, I don't know what that's about. I hear F3 is a good thing. I'd love to start one, but
there's some guys up here doing F3. Yeah.
But I feel like my geographical and linguistic location is preventing me from doing that. I thought about it, and I was like,
but F3. Let's talk about F3 for a second. Does everyone know what F3 is? Fitness, faith, fellowship, right? Do I have that right? Basically, what it is you're up at
Google it.
5:30, up at 5:30, 6 a.m, and you're rucking around at sunrise, before sunrise, with a bunch of men. And the idea is to create a place where you're not going to do a lot of the regular male things, which is while you're working out, which is hoot at women and talk about your sex lives and all that kind of stuff. But it's faith-based a little bit. We're like doing this for Christ and for fellowship. Where I live, you can't keep the Mormons out where I live. So you kind of have to know that going in. But okay, F3 is a great example of a thing the church could do under the church. But because the church isn't doing it, the church isn't giving men that purpose. The church isn't creating a space where, hey, this is a secret. How do you think men become friends? By doing things active together. Where do we do that in the church? The main way men become friends, look at sports. Ask yourself why kids' sports in general, has wiped the floor with the church. And it's what everyone does on the weekends. They travel to it. They give their entire social calendar to sports. Why? Because it gives men purpose, and to be a part of a team, to be a part of a cause greater than themselves. It's a challenge. It requires competence. It wants their gifts and their talents. It's something you can belong to. It gives men everything they need, and where the church doesn't. And so because we're not doing it, it has to be parachurch like F3. Why aren't churches doing this?
Yeah. It's a good question. I mean, I think that's the blessed nature of things like parachurch organizations. I mean, I'm a fan of them myself for obvious reasons that those that know me, and they're necessary because the church isn't doing a lot of things that they could be doing. But I think it's fantastic. I mean, and by the way, it was faith, fellowship, fitness. I don't know if that's what you said.
Faith, fellowship, fitness. Okay. Yeah, I think I got the order wrong. but yeah, faith, fellowship.
So, well, it might. I don't even know if I said it in the right order. I was just saying the 3 words. I couldn't remember.
Okay.
But Ben Guptill says the men's greatest need is respect. I met Ben at ProvCon 24, by the way. So that was pretty cool. Him and his twin brother. And I don't know if I talked to any of you, like our viewers, since then, but I gave away some exclusive merch there and stuff, and it was a lot of good fun. I met some of you, Zach, a guy named Jared. It was pretty cool. 2 Jareds, I think, actually. Jared Kenyon, we already knew. But anyways, Ben says, men's greatest need is respect, so pride is a form of protecting your honor. Women's greatest need is love, and they're willing to abandon honor for it.
Mm-hmm. I like that. I like that. Yeah.
And so Ben, you get a special place in my heart because I feel like I know you now. You know, I've met you in person. I've met Eric in person now, which is good fun. And Eric, we became friends by doing things together, didn't we? I mean, we're on the online sphere and stuff, but we're doing stuff together. We didn't.
No, that's right.
I mean, we talked a little bit about our feelings, but mostly we were doing things together.
But what came first? What came first was the intellectual. Hey, let's tackle this challenge. We see this void on the internet. It's 2020. We can't go out of our houses. I lived in a brand new place. You lived in China, and it was. And let's apply ourselves to this problem that we see, and we can create something together. And then after that, came the camaraderie and the bonding and the feelings and all that. And that's just how men work. And the church leaders in the church aren't dumb. They know that, but they can't do. I don't get it. They can't do it. I want to say something before this gets too far. You might say, hey, Eric, that's all well and good for you to say, what is the church doing? That's great. So since you see this, what are you doing? So glad you asked. I have me and a pastor, and then we have a team of guys. There's 6 of us total, have created a program for men to under our church. I want it to be in the church to do this. And I think there will come a time I'll be able to talk more about it. We're in the 2nd month, but we want to address this, and it's a physical challenge.
Is this the one that you've been part of the board and doing the website and stuff like that I know about?
No.
This is a new one.
Yes.
Okay.
This one is through my church. That one is for marriage.
Right. Got it. Check.
And that's becoming something else. But yeah, so we're doing this, and we have 10 guys in it. We want to expand it to a little bit more next time, but 10 is really good. And Solid. It's an intensive 4-month long, let's get into it kind of thing. And so we're trying. And by the way, we copied it from another church who's also doing this. So we didn't make it from scratch. Okay. We heard about something else that somebody was doing. We're like, that's it. That's how you do that. And
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's right.
I wonder if you can chime in on this, Eric. I just want to hear, you're in this counseling world. And so here's the quote here: counselors will counsel many more women than men because it is so difficult for a man to say, I need help. Women are usually the first to say, I'm sorry, or I was wrong. Men are usually more competitive. Before you comment, I want to say, one of the reasons why I want to do this episode too is that there's an epidemic of men's mental health. And maybe one of the problems is that men don't say, I need help. I don't really know, but there's an epidemic of this. And we did a mental health in the church type episode. And we've talked about some of the inconvenient statistics, like if inter-partner violence is in one direction from one partner to another, 60% of the time it's from the woman to the man. So there's just a lot of misconceptions out there regarding men and their struggles and their challenges and stuff. And that's something that we're passionate about. But I just wanted to kind of throw that to you, Eric, and just see what you thought about it, being in that kind of counseling space a bit.
Yeah. So men have a hard time saying, I need help. So let's shame them for it. That'll make them come around. I just the response and the attitude from men to men about male issues, I don't understand how it's helpful. And I think I understand where it's coming from, which is just like what Michael Foster did to this skeptic guy. He knows that a man ought to be able to take it and should be able to handle it when you say, get over yourself to a man, or when Mark Driscoll screams at you and says, how dare you put your hands on a woman? He's doing that because he thinks men can take it. And if he screamed at a
And
woman,
remember, with that, we
wouldn't be a
should
good
run
look.
that in that statistic in the background when Mark Driscoll says that. How dare you put your hands on a woman? 60% of the
He was
time.
talking sexually. He was talking about you're not married and you put your hands on her sexually. That's what he was talking about violence.
Sorry.
But it's like, how dare you, touch her in that way? She's not yours. And so screaming at men, screaming at men and shaming them motivates them. I think we do it because we think men can take it. But if he was to scream at women like that, like, wives, don't withhold sex from your husbands, how dare you? If he was doing, how dare you punish them for, try to control them by withholding that which God has said that you need to give to your husbands, how dare you? If he shouts that at them, that's a bad look. But if he shouts it to men, he makes it look like he's a tough guy. But how is this actually supposed to help men and motivate them? It just makes you feel good.
Right. So what do you think, if you want to encourage men to get help, talk to somebody, do you just hey bro, just talk to somebody instead of being like, why are you being such an idiot and not asking for help? Don't be so, I don't know.
So I think, so this is the next one in our series. We read Wild at Heart, and then now we're reading this one.
Five marks. Oh, triggered. Oh, I thought it was, no, that's 7. How many marks is that? How many marks is the other one?
No, that was 7. That was 5 marks.
Okay.
That was 5 marks. That was 5 marks. You're right.
Was
5 marks of a healthy church.
Was the other one 5?
That's not what this is. This isn't even a play on that. He's saying that what he's playing off of with 5 marks was that there used to be, in a lot of societies and up until today, and still in the East and lots of other places, there are rituals you do to say, now you're a man. So if you're able to go out into the mountain and pick that flower, which is way up high, you're now, and you come and you make it back down, you're a man. And men know they're men because I did the thing that my society says that I'm a man. But in our society, we don't have that. Men don't know what it is to be a man. So to answer your question, what would men do? What should men do? I think he has a good thing where you need to find good friends. You need to pursue male friendships, which is oftentimes something active. And that can be a chess club. That could be Magic the Gathering. I mean, it doesn't have to be physically active, but a lot of times it is.
You're going to get us canceled, Eric. You're going to get us canceled. I can't talk about Magic the Gathering on here.
Whatever. I mean, find something active to do with people that, Magic has a whole subculture to it. But like if you're Christian friends who are going to play D&D together with or something, that's not how Drew and I met and became friends. It's not. Whatever it is but pursue that actively and then find the guys that are safe, because not all men are safe, right? Not all, and then start talking about it. This lie that you have to do this on your own is a lie from the pit of hell, and Satan wants you isolated. Satan wants you alone. He's got this. Brian Tome has this great line in that where he says, like, lone wolves live short, malnourished lives. They don't. Lone wolves out in the wilderness don't last very long. So
I remember a chapter in a book that I read that was called "A Lone Ranger is a Dead Ranger," and I thought that's always stuck with me, even though I think the rest of the book was probably kind of take it or leave it. But that stuck with me. Lone Ranger is a dead ranger.
But we have these messages in society, right? That lone wolves are good, and lone rangers are good, and like, wasn't there a show Lone Ranger, right? Like, how many lone wolf references in popular culture are there as if it's a good thing? And it's really not a good thing. at all. So,
yeah.
I mean,
Good thoughts,
yeah,
good thoughts.
the F3 is a great place to go, like, sign up for F3. You're gonna have a bunch of brothers right away, overnight. This idea that men are like super close to each other, I don't think is true. I think that once a man sees that you have similar values and interests, I think men can become fast friends. But it's usually starts with something external and then goes internal, and then the church just goes, get in a small group, and men don't. I mean, that's not how men.
Well, it's funny because that I can, and I think
I love small groups, by the way. Absolutely love small groups. Okay, continue.
I love small groups, and I also love and appreciate my church. There's maybe a very small handful of people from my church that watch this, maybe like 2 people. I don't know. Anyways, and I think the only thing that we really do for men's ministry as of now, and I could be wrong, so just tell me off, if I am, but it's just a men's breakfast, where you come together and you have a meal and you have a little bit of a talk. And I always kind of lamented the fact that, like, I feel like I'm not really getting to know anybody. I mean, there's only so much time that you have to, and again, maybe it's just like we're sitting around and we're looking at each other, and you're going to have us talk. Like, I don't know, maybe it's that we're kind of doing the wrong thing and we really need to go chop some wood or help somebody, clean up their yard or something together. More so than that.
Get in a text group with the guys, get some numbers, and then be like, hey, want to go on a hike? Hey, I got this thing coming up. Hey, it can start at the men's breakfast, but you're right. That's like the most a lot of churches do. I've done them. I've planned them. I've put them together. I've done it. I'm stereotyped for sure. Absolutely. And then what do you do after that?
Yeah, I think let us know in the comments, by the way. I want to know what you think, if you're a man or if you're a woman, if there's something about the church that you just feel like was not jiving with you, complain to us in the comments. I want to hear what people say. You can even email us at provisionistperspective@gmail.com. As I was thinking about this, I thought I really kind of want to hear people's hearts on this. I want to hear, like, from men have been thinking about church. Yeah. Maybe you're an unbeliever. And if you're an unbeliever, you made it 52 minutes. I just want to, please email me, because I want to know that you made it this far. You're officially one of our choice meats. It's a little bit of an inside joke here, but email me. I want to know, maybe specifically as a man, what was it that turned you off about church, and what do you think we could do better in the church? I don't know. Cause I don't know that I necessarily have a ton of answers. I have some, thoughts milling around. I think this is good initiating into the conversation. It's good to know, I think, even just in like men's breakfast, for instance, we just talked about. What are you doing? You're sitting around and you're looking at each other. Okay, let's find something to do together. Especially something that's on mission together, something where you're serving people, for our brothers and sisters that are watching this, who will be most of you brothers, find some way to serve the Lord together, to serve others together. I know the church that I grew up at builds a lot of ramps, for people that are in need. That's a good way to help people and stuff. So,
and I would say, what I would say is, how do you do this? Your church should. So Jordan Peterson had this thing a few years ago, and it was, his fame had been solidified, and he realized that a lot of his fans and people who engaged with him were Christians, and he realized he had, kind of really fully gone into the evangelical sphere and was seen as some kind of secular but Christian adjacent philosopher. And right. He always respected religion, even if he was fully subscribed. An ally, right? Ew, I hate that word. But you're right. You're not wrong. You're right. Just that word has been hijacked. And yes. So he was, and so he had this thing where it was like, okay, so then he goes, the churches are a real culprit in the leaving behind of men and not addressing men. Churches could be a powerful force in that. And what is it that churches should do? And he had this, really challenging thing where he said, your local church should take out a billboard and say, men, you are wanted. Your ideas, your passion, your creativity, like we want you
I remember that.
to
Yeah.
come, with some billboard, like we want you to come to our church and make it better. We need you. And then what you could do on the practical side is you could set up an organization. You make it separate from your church, put a 501c3 on it, whatever you want to do, the separate organization, and then like help men fund it, and then make it so it's a thing that men, not just men, right, but like market it to men as, hey, here's this thing that we have, and we want to help you go do things, build ramps, fund, build, set up, and do cars for people who don't have them or need them. And then, or you want to have, you're a mechanic, and on Saturdays once a month, you want to be able to repair cars for free for people. Like, we want to do that. You want to set up an F3 group here. You want to set up a hiking group here. You want to set up a sports league here. Whatever it is, we want to help you with that. And it'll be a part of this organization. But it's under the guise of the church, not letting parachurch organizations just do it, not doing nothing. And letting other people do it, but having it under the guise of your church, while also not requiring ideological purity. So it's less about, are these people, you're not giving them leadership in your churches, they're not running something in your church. That's separate. That requires that membership class or that catechism or whatever you want to call it. That requires but giving this is an outreach. We want to help you do it. Now, if you want to cross over and be seen as a leader in the church, that's a different thing. But over here, we're not going to inspect your theology, and we're just going to help empower you to do these things. I think that would go a long way.
Cool. We're at about an hour here, Eric. How are you feeling?
Well, are we getting some spicy questions? I want the spice.
I don't see a lot of questions.
It's my thing is I can't use. I'm having technical issues. It's not potato.
Oh yeah.
It's not a potato. This is working perfectly fine. My mouse won't go over. Oh, wait, there it is. User error.
I want to say, let's pull this up. Speaking of the shameless plug for our, where's it at? It was in the Discord, wasn't it?
Peter.
Here we go. So if you become a patron,
Harry Potter Club, make it so. Okay, go ahead.
If you become a patron, by the way, you have access to our Discord, which is a little bit more direct access. And it's kind of like an inner circle community there. And so Amber, who's one of our patrons, she said this about, if you've been around for a while, you know what the potato perspective is. It's this stick, this thing when our computers are being potatoes and we were having issues with it. It was a whole thing. We have merch for this. And Amber says that she said that the potato perspective sticker has started. I hope you don't mind me sharing this, Amber. Sorry if you do. Anyways, I can cut it out later if you don't like it. The potato perspective sticker has started several conversations and 2 chances to share the gospel with someone. And then she said, #snarky merch matters. So I thought that was cool that our merch has started some gospel conversations there about like, what does this potato perspective carry on? What's that about? So you can find that in our merch. I just thought I never would have expected that to happen. Go get them, Amber.
No,
I think that's super
love
cool.
that.
So
love that so much.
But what else was I gonna? Something about men and other things. Look, here's a question. Do we need a no girls allowed club at church?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Yeah.
I got myself into trouble one time it was basically like a pornography support group. And it was all men except for one person who I thought was kind of there for not really the right reasons. And I complained and I got myself into trouble for that. They didn't receive my complaint in the spirit in which I meant it, I feel like. But anyways,
wait, what? So it was a woman that was in there?
yeah, it was we were reading through this book that's basically like how to get over porn addiction, and it was
Was it Triple X
it was.
Church?
I don't
Oh,
think so.
whatever. Okay.
Startup, something like, I can't remember what it was. And this person was there, and I just wasn't really happy with it because I felt like the men couldn't really talk. Like just that one woman
Female, yeah.
just felt like, how are you gonna? That's how it felt to me, anyways. And maybe I'm wrong, and I clearly, the leader, the facilitator of that particularly, didn't feel the same way. So, anyways,
but no one would have. I mean, I think the point is we can play that the what if game, right? We can play the shoe on the other foot game and go, if somebody had a women's group, and this is particularly for women's issues, nobody have a problem with it. But you try to do that for men and allow men to freely talk without feeling like they can harm the sensibilities of a woman while they're there, then everyone's mad about it. Like, I don't.
Yeah, James asks a girl in men's support group. So it wasn't like exclusively men, but it was exclusively for like a porn, get over porn. And obviously it just happens to be that 99.99% of the people that are in attendance were men. So it just kind of shook out that way, except for the one person. So, but yeah, I mean, I come from a little bit more of a, I don't know, conservative culture, I guess, in that respect. And so I think in this particular context, it's viewed as even more taboo to like segregate the sexes and to say, no, the men are going to have this group and the women are going to have this group. And I think that's why that wasn't really received in that way. Just maybe it was like a cross-cultural issue or whatever, that person didn't feel the same as I did in terms of like the kind of like
you're talking about
from my own cultural perspective.
But you're talking about like, okay, I had this experience. We were doing something about freedom. Okay, it was a spiritual freedom from lies of the enemy, for all these things. It was freedom, and me and another fellow. So it wasn't just me, but neither another guy. We were all in a room with people, but obviously, of course, that's who you are. We're approached by this woman who wanted to tell us. She wanted to tell us there were women she could have gone to, but she wanted to tell us that she had sexual addiction problems. And the guy I was with is a good-looking guy. I was younger than this woman. She wanted us to know that. So it's not like women wouldn't do that. Like it's whatever. I don't know. It's not like that's not a fraught situation.
You mean like that it's fraught in the sense that the woman's coming to the men with that issue and how to help her? Like, what do you want me to do, basically? Like, let me pass you on to this woman that you should have told. Okay, bye.
Yeah,
basically.
Like, but if you're going to go to a porn support group, you're there. It's 99% men. It's one thing to assume that person is there for bad intentions, and you weren't doing that. You were just saying it was hard to open up because that person was there, because a woman was there. But so it's not like, let's not assume bad intentions, but also let's not pretend that that's not on the table. Like, I'm going to go to a porn support group because I am going to have a conversation about sex with a man. And I want to see what happens after I have that conversation about sex with a man. Do you see what I'm saying?
Right. So you're saying that
people would do.
Right. I will say this, that maybe this adds some extra clarity, and maybe I shouldn't be saying this publicly. Hopefully I'm being as vague as possible to protect interested parties. But the thing that bothered me was, I don't really wrestle with this at all. I'm just here to try to understand. And I was like,
that would bother me.
You can like that's not what this is.
You
for.
can watch a YouTube video. You want to understand? You can watch.
This wasn't. Video.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean, I don't mean to be mean by that, by saying you can just, but that's just in my mind, that wasn't the purpose of the group. And so I felt like I needed to express this to the facilitator, that I felt like this. And when I was at this group, I was there in a support role. Like I wanted to go to help other men that were dealing with this, because it was something that I had victory in, or have victory in. And then I was feeling like I was there for a support role. And then she kind of commented that she was also there in a support, kind of trying to understand her brothers. And I just thought that I don't think that this is the place.
So she wants to have conversations. See, that's what I'm saying. You know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. That's predatory. Like I'm going to sit there and I am going to say, no, that's predatory. Like, I am going to go there among men who are sexually broken and who are admitting it and are willing to talk about it. And I want to have those conversations with them. Excuse me?
I didn't understand it. It didn't make sense to me. So I felt like I needed to say something, and then that didn't land very well. So, and I was the token, shall we say, outsider in the situation. It felt like. So, anyways.
Okay. You do seem like the kind of person who would be like, I know that I should read the room right now, but I'm going to choose not to read the room right now. I appreciate that about you.
To be fair, like this was I called up the person and said, hey, this is kind of how I'm feeling. I talked to another person that feels the same way. Is this appropriate? And it was just like, shut up. I mean, okay, that's an exaggeration. It wasn't a shut up, but it was a sort of dismissing type situation. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe any closing thoughts, Eric? I feel like we might have a number of new viewers here, and our new viewers aren't going to be the choice meats that are in for the 1.5, 2 hour long haul. So any closing encouragements or thoughts to our men? Yeah, 99% of the people that watch this that are on our channel are men. So,
no, there's just it's so challenging. This situation is how to address men in the church, how to get men in the church, the male reaction, like in the red pillars and all that, and what red pill has become didn't start out meaning what it means now. It's just a very fraught situation, and there are lots of overreactions on either side. And so it's hard to know how to address this in your local context, your local church. And, but I think there's something good and right about how do we gear this thing towards men specifically, because we do that for everybody else. So why not men? And once you see that the church has become feminized, you can't really unsee it. You just start seeing it everywhere. And then the question becomes, what do we do about it? So let's keep having this conversation.
Yeah, let's do it. If you like this kind of conversation, this kind of content, please hit the like button, comment below, let us know that you like it, because quite frankly, when stuff doesn't get the views, then that communicates to us that this isn't what our audience is about. But if you're new here, usually we're talking about Calvinism, Arminianism, provisionism. That's who we are, as the provisionist perspective. So we're really glad you're here. I don't know, my closing thoughts, and maybe this is cliche, but I'm reading this book on intercessory prayer, is pray to God to help you and the men in your community to be better men of God and to give you divinely inspired ideas. Maybe that's cliche and trite. Maybe it's like I don't have any good ideas, but I feel like prayer's an important, useful, effective thing. So that's my encouragement. I've learned a lot through this and just being able to dialogue on it. And so thanks for joining us. And guys, may God bless you, and then go be a blessing to someone around you this week. And happy Good Friday. It's Good Friday.
Yeah, Good Friday, guys.
This is a Good Friday stream.
Yeah.
my crazy thumbnail that those of you who are turning into live will enjoy. I didn't know what this was going to be about exactly, and I just needed to get a thumbnail and a title up there. So it's like The Predestined Weekend is the current title of this. I'm going to change that as soon as we get off here to something else. And I think our thumbnail has a cartoon bear behind me with a Easter bunny behind you. It's a whole bunch of craziness.
What
I did
is
it.
happening?
I mocked it up. I was good. I was ready for my nap, and I needed to do the thumbnail and have a bit of a rest. And then, so that's what came out. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Be blessed. Go be a blessing. Until next time.
Till next time.